Okay, I'm gonna call this battered woman, I guess, because that's what I'm talking about. So I have not been like battered like some women. There was a woman who told me her husband hit her in the face with a baseball bat. That's awful. But you know what? The older lady, I just shared a video about an older lady talking to me last night about assault when my husband threw me, and it was in a fit of rage. And, you know, um, just that it doesn't have to be an all-out beating for it to be wrong. Like she said last night, Melissa, that one push leads to another push, and that leads to another one, and before you know it, you're getting punched or you're getting this or that. So it's true. When a man thinks he can get away with touching you once, he will do it again usually, unless there's some intervention. And a lot of times older men, they tend to have childhood trauma that causes this. That is what you're looking at, because mental illness is usually for the younger men, but this is the older men. And as you're trying to teach especially your boys, your kids, about what's right and wrong, you want to take care of this. Because the boys, your sons, they're learning how to be a man. And when they learn it's okay to be an aggressor, it's okay to hit a woman, they're going to think that is what a man does. And luckily my kids were not around, but still, what do? I mean, if your son is going to react and protect his mom because he loves his mom, and then he gets beaten up from his dad because his dad's a lot older and stronger, what are you going to do? So I just heard of another woman who her boyfriend actually tried to kill her, and he went to prison, and he's just gotten out, and she's back with him, and I have no idea why a woman would do that. It's hard enough if a man just does something that's not as strong as beating a woman, but that's hard enough. So for a guy to try to kill you, I have no idea what that is. So I'm someone who says, yes, you can forgive people, but are you going to enter back into relationship with them? That's the question. I think you could forgive before God, but you may not have access to that person. That person may not have access to you again. So let me see here. So I want to talk about the domestic abuse in my background that can be very hard to overcome with my parents with the domestic abuse. Not only was my father and my grandmother telling me that my father would hit my mother with a phone and stuff he did, but when I was a teenager, I have no idea why I had a mother who was always against me. But after the abortion, I was dating somebody else, and he was kind of my freedom. He was kind of my way of dealing with stuff I was dealing with after the abortion. So I don't regret that, even though he was not the best guy for me. I didn't do drugs, I didn't do alcohol, as a lot of women have done after a forced abortion or an abortion, and I just never did it. So this guy I was just, dating, and I remember my mother, he got me a diamond ring. He said he wanted to marry me. And my mother had said, well, you never know, it will probably work out. Meanwhile, while she was kind of back and forth about this, my father did not want me to date him, and it was very clear. And so they were not in sync. And then my mother had gone and told my father something behind my back, didn't talk to my face. He actually came downstairs, laid hands on me, and my father had not done this before, and actually grabbed me by the hair, dragged me all the way up the stairs. No conversation, no relationship. Took me around the corner by my hair. I had a lot more hair then, but took me by the hair and literally just threw me against a solid oak door. And as he was basically, I think I went to get up, if I remember right, and he threw me again. I can't even remember like how many times he did this. I think it was 2 or 3 times. He was actually like taking his anger out on me and kind of like giving me a beating. Now my father was like 6 foot something. He was a construction worker, very muscular, very strong. Here I am, a 16-year-old girl, and he's doing this to me. My mother stood there just doing dishes with her back turned toward the whole situation as he is beating me, basically. And then she said, "That's enough, dear. That's enough, dear." Because whatever, she didn't want to get hit or whatever, so she let her daughter get a beating. When you have these things happening in a family, it's not okay. I remember some other stuff I'm not going to talk about because it's just, I'm just not. Pretty dark stuff I could talk about, but I'm not going to. So, yeah, and you know, after an abortion, you know, you're pretty much a forced abortion, going to be a mess. And there was no counsel, there was no asking, how did you get pregnant? It was just an abortion. No concern at all, like, what happened? So after that, I was told by my mother I deserved it. And you're talking about an AB student here who never got in trouble. He was told that you deserve a beating from your father, if he was indeed my father. I don't know to this day. He could have been my stepfather. And, you know, you're told this stuff, and it's easy to believe it. Like, you deserved it. That's what she said to me. She said, you deserved it. So it's very easy to take this into other relationships and feel like, well, you know, maybe if I would have walked on eggshells a little bit better, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So, you know, if people can cover it up, you know, buy you your first car when you get your license, buy you off is what my mother tried to do quite a bit, whether it was offering to pay for college or whatever it was. And, you know, when you have people like that in your life, it can really do a lot of damage, and you have to overcome it. So I hear on the abortion stuff all the time, what about people who had a hard life? What about this? What about that? So what? You overcome it when you get older. You get the help that you need. You get other people in your life who are positive, and you learn that nobody's going to ever buy you again. And that's something that I'm very picky about with money. That is not a principle I go by with money. If somebody's mistreating me and they're treating me like garbage, I will say, screw this, forget about any money. Keep your darn money, and I'm not putting up with this. So you don't want people to buy you. And later on, when I became a mom, a lot of gifts were given, you know, to cover up that abortion and stuff. And you just don't, I'm just not someone who can be brought. So principle is more important to me than people trying to buy me. And when you're dating, though, that can also mess up your thinking, and thinking, you know, a guy does have to buy you stuff, and you can get mixed up thinking that is love, and that's not love. So I just wanted to share, you know, if you're in this situation and you've been through this stuff, you can work your way out of it, and you can choose better for your life. And so that's something that I believe in. I don't care what kind of background you've had. I don't care what anyone has done to you. Your life, you have a choice. And later on, when my mother later on was like, oh my goodness, you have another baby, more diapers. Don't tell me you got more diapers to change. I was pregnant with my 5th son and said, I'll talk to you another time, not now. And I felt like I am not going to have a nervous breakdown with someone who's criticizing my motherhood, who, you know, just did so many stuff when I became a mother. I had to actually put the boundaries up when I became a mother. And that was the healthiest thing I did. These kids were mine, and I said, these are my kids, not yours. You're not going to run my life. You're not going to tell me what to do. And sometimes you do need to do that with people who are just using you. And then later on, after contacting her, when I thought she had COVID, she didn't want to talk to me, I was told, anymore. I talked to her in the hospital. She had an act of kindness, but as soon as she got out, I was told by another person that she said, oh, it's been too long since I've seen you, so I don't want a relationship with you anymore. So not only have I been disowned by my father because I would not do what he wanted, but disowned by a mother. And you know, God's going to deal with that if you've also been disowned and you're like an orphan in a sense, and you have no family because they cut you off and they gossiped about you to everyone in the family, and you know, painted you a certain way, or talked about you in the whole, you know, the whole town, you know. God's going to deal with it. Those who are orphaned, parents who don't want to take care of their kids, God's going to deal with it. But it doesn't mean that that kid does not deserve to be born. And that's where I would also like to work in the abortion issue with helping women, you know, understand just because your kid might have a hard life, which people do all the time, doesn't mean you have a right to kill the kid, and you can get past things. So that's what I got for today. I have a job interview coming like in a half hour, and some other stuff to do. These kids next door, their mother's not home, no one's watching them during the day, so I fed them lunch and just kind of keeping an eye on them. They're only very young, and I feel they still need supervision. But it is what it is. So you want to make a difference in people's lives. If you're so worried about the abortion issue, turn around and see what you can do to help other people. It's never okay to abort. It should be banned everywhere, but we all should also be helping other people.